The Sorcerer King has vanished. Rumors like wildfire raced across the slain theocracy and the surrounding kingdoms. Was he assassinated by a rival magicaster? Did he overextend his power and collapse? Had the stress finally driven the enigmatic ruler insane? People still saw him from time to time, of course, thanks to Pandora's actor. But those who watched closely noticed something was off. His aura felt colder. His eyes, usually burning with otherworldly power, seemed distant. His presence, normally commanding and terrifying, felt almost alien. It didn't take long for the keenest minds outside Nazirk to connect the dots. If the Sorcerer King was absent, then this was their chance. A coalition of small kingdoms, too weak to stand against Ainz before, began secret talks. They dreamed of rebellion, of ending the reign of the undead tyrant while he was vulnerable. But what they didn't know was that Ainz was watching them all. Deep in a remote magical observatory within Nazirk, Ainz had been preparing for this moment. Using ancient relics, powerful divination circles, and the tactical genius of Nazirk's floor guardians. He'd woven a scrying network that dwarfed anything the world had seen. It allowed him to observe, hear, and even speak to anyone or anything within its radius, all from the comfort of his own throne room. And right now, he was listening intently to the whispers coming from outside the kingdom. Revolts, assassinations, peace negotiations, all sorts of juicy gossip swirled through the air, and Ainz savored every word. He wasn't worried about the rebellion. He'd anticipated it. In fact, he'd orchestrated it. See, when Ainz came to this world, he brought with him the knowledge of a dying gamer and the ruthless logic of a hardcore raid boss. He knew that absolute power demanded absolute performance, and his subordinates, as brilliant as they were, would never question his wisdom, even when he had no idea what he was doing. So he needed a counterbalance, a force that could challenge his authority, push him to become stronger, smarter, more charismatic. And what better catalyst for change than a good old-fashioned rebellion? It would force him to grow, to adapt, to truly become the ruler of this world. But before he could play his next card, he had to make sure his pieces were in place. Albedo, his ever-loyal guardian and de facto ruler of Nazirk, was already hard at work spreading disinformation through Nazirk's diplomatic agents. She was feeding enemy spies false reports about weak points in Nazirk's defenses, baiting them into thinking the kingdom was ripe for the taking. Meanwhile, Sheltir, the tyrannical queen of the West, had traded her spear for a new one, eager for blood after so long under Albertur's thumb. Cocytus, the wise and patient guardian of the forest, was readying the lizardmen battalions for war. Their numbers had grown significantly since Ainz's last campaign, and their discipline had benefited from years of training under Demirge's supervision. Aura and Mare, the mischievous imps who delighted in causing chaos, had also been put to work. They were scouting potential battlegrounds, turning forests into death traps and mountains into fortresses, all to lure the enemy into carefully designed ambushes. As the gears of war began to turn, Ainz found himself hesitating slightly, not out of fear, but out of reflection. He realized that the path he'd chosen, a path built on lies, fear, and intimidation, might not lead to the peaceful coexistence he'd envisioned. Then again, perhaps that was the point. Perhaps his true purpose wasn't to rule, but to conquer, to use every trick in the book to expand his territory and power. After all, that's what everyone else was doing. The world was a brutal place, and only the strong could thrive. Maybe he'd been too naive to think he could change that. Before the rebellion could act, Ainz decided it was time to make his move. He would reappear on the world stage, not as a ruler, but as a god. With a thought, he donned his most powerful armor, the Skull Reaper, and activated his ultimate magic, the Overlord's throne. In an instant, He was bathed in otherworldly light, surrounded by the spectral forms of his loyal guardians. When the light faded, Ainz was gone. In his place stood a towering figure wreathed in darkness, a skeletal emperor clad in bone and shadow, wielding a staff that pulsed with dark energy. The world had become his myth. Fear him or worship him, the divine emperor had returned, and this time there would be no escape.